Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, pretty much everywhere at Hawk Blogger. And the reviews on Apple Podcasts have been rolling in. Really appreciate those. So if you have a second, give us a 5-star review there. We'd greatly appreciate it. I think we're almost at 500 reviews, which would be a really cool milestone to hit. And part of the way we've gotten there is amazing guests like our good friend Griff Sturgeon over from the Seattle Overload podcast, one of the podcasts that I check out occasionally. Great information there, always something to learn. And Griff, I got to know, man, when it starts raining, like it's raining now, does that make you more or less likely to get out there for a hike?
Rain is no object for me.
Okay.
It's the wind that gets me though, because
Okay.
that really freaks me out in the woods when tree limbs start falling and trees start falling right over the trail. That's when I tap out.
Yeah, you really don't know where those are going to come from, and they're not necessarily going to be in sight when it happens. So that's probably wisdom there. Do you think that the animals, like the forest creatures, are like, sweet, it's raining, those stupid humans aren't going to be tromping around? Do you see more animals out there when you're hiking in the rain?
You know, I don't know. I haven't really paid attention to that. Maybe not as much, but yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, well, I think I'm gonna get out there in the rain today with Finn, and he's been inside sheltering in place for a couple of days. He needs a little exercise, as do I. But man, it's a bye week. It's a bye week, a bye weekend. Have you been spending your time?
I mean, yesterday was a busy day for me. I just had things going on with the cars, with my dogs, vet visits with older dogs and stuff. Everything's fine. I'm kind of relaxing today, so it'll be fun to have a low anxiety football Sunday with it being a bye week. You can just kind of soak in what happens to other teams and hopefully laugh at the right team's misfortune and everything. And, yeah.
Are you a Schadenfreude guy? Like, because I certainly am. You don't strike me as someone who takes a lot of pleasure in other people's pain.
Not really. I mean, we all want our divisional opponents to lose.
Okay.
I'm just, you just want that the standings to be in your favor at the end of the day. So that's all where I'm coming at from that.
How do you feel about how the NFC West has been shaping up so far?
Well, it's kind of I thought before the season started that it would come down to the three teams actually I should say all four teams. So the Cardinals they've completely lost it. I was way wrong on the Cardinals.
Me too.
But health permitting, I thought if the Rams remained healthy, they'd win about 11 games. If the Seahawks remained completely healthy, I had us winning about 10 games. But we're all at what? We're all 5-2 now, right? The top three. And the Niners, it was health too. I'm a little surprised by the Niners sticking around this much with all of their injuries.
Wild.
But I mean, it's more or less what I thought it'd be. There'd be three teams at the top, and it would just be related to health. So to this point, it's who can stay healthiest. The Seahawks, we already had our injury spell for a little bit, right? And we've survived it.
Hope so.
So yeah, right. Knock on wood. So they've survived that for now, and now we're looking at the second half of the season. So it's kind of more or less what I expected.
Interesting. I would say it's been very different than I expected.
Okay.
I generally thought the Seahawks would be a 12-win team. So I think they're relatively on pace for that. We'll see where the second part of the season goes. But I thought they'd be doing it with a shutdown defense and a good running game and a really suspect passing game. That hasn't really been the case. I thought the 49ers were completely fabricated and by the media, and that they were going to be pretty bad. At least mediocre. And the fact that they've had so many catastrophic injuries, like seriously catastrophic injuries, and that they keep winning is honestly, I think, one of the biggest stories of the NFL this year. I don't know that it means that I think their ceiling is still very, they have a very hard ceiling, and I don't think it's that high, but they have an easy enough schedule. They might be in this all the way to the end. And then the Rams are pretty much what I thought they'd be. The difference is, I thought Matt Stafford might be a little more cooked than he appears to be. And I think he's playing like Matt Stafford. And as long as that's happening, the Rams are very frisky. And do you see them as the biggest obstacle for the Seahawks?
Yeah, right now they have the most going for them that would give the defense issues on paper anyway. Um, and then defensively, they've been a little scrappy too, right?
They have.
Yeah.
That
So
secondary is better than I thought it would be.
same. I did not make much of their defense at all headed into the season, but they're doing a really good job there. Yeah, with Stafford, it's like if he's 100%, then he's top 5, top 6 quarterback, and that lends itself toward what it lends itself. If he gets a little dinged up, if the elbow shows up, if the back shows up in the injury report, if the thumb thing that he's got going on, like the past 3 years shows up, then he's not, But if he gets healthy the week you play him, it will be really tough. So, I feel like the Seahawks have more margin for error though right now, and like you said, it does feel like they're on pace for 12 wins right now. I don't think the Rams can afford one thing to go wrong for them if they're going to face a roughly equal team headed into that week. And then the Niners, it's like how real are they still? Is this just a really good coaching job masking some warts? Do they have the staying power for this? I don't know. I know they have some guys that will come back eventually, but will they come back 100%? So yeah, if I had to choose to be any of the 4 teams right now at this point in the season, I'd be the Seahawks. I just think we have the most going. They have the most going for them right now.
I feel very much the same. Well, I feel the same way. I do think the Rams are still the team that the Seahawks. I have to see the Seahawks beat them to believe that they are the superior team. Like it's been too many. I was going through. I wrote an article I posted on hawkblogger.com for folks that haven't read it, where I compared this Seahawks 5-2 team to all the Seahawks teams that have won at least 5 games in their first 7 since 2000. And going back to the 2023 team was a little traumatizing. That was Pete Carroll's last year. They go 5-2, but then they trade for Leonard Williams, and then Mike McDonald undresses them, and it was kind of downhill from there. And then in the 2020 and the 2019 teams, there's some trauma there where they started out. Actually, the 20 team started out 6-1. That was the Russ Cook year. They were averaging 34 points a game at this point.
Yeah.
And then Russ kind of came back to earth, and the defense, it just wasn't good enough. And then you go all the way back to the 2017 team. That was traumatizing too, because they were 5-2, and then 2 games in later, they had the Arizona game where Sherm and Cam Chancellor were lost, and you lost the entire Michael Bennett lost
overnight.
So it's this is this moment where I got to see them break through, and not only against the Rams, but just finish. I think that's a theme, not for just the season, but for seasons in the past, and for this team this year. Finishing has been a problem,
right? But at this point though, they are getting progressively healthier though, at least we can say,
right,
aside from another random injury popping up from a key player. I mean, you're getting Julian Love back and Witherspoon back, and I think Witherspoon and Derek Hall, who we all love. I mean, Witherspoon at his best he's capable of being the best player on the team, like offense and defense. So I mean, he has that potential. So I mean, I don't know. I feel like the arrow's pointed up for them still, but yeah, I'm with you. I mean, you still got to do it though, right? You still got to see what's on that other side. The remaining divisional games will be so telling, so important. Yeah, the defense though is just the how they're playing, and they're through the injuries and the way that Mike McDonald is scheming right now. They've what is it? They've turned over every stone. I don't think that there's some waiting for the other shoe to drop type thing, or just we're on film last year in the early parts of the season, even that first month, I was afraid all right, well, what happens when they face a team that can do X, Y, and Z? I'm not sure what this team's capable of. I don't feel that way right now. If they end up having bad games moving forward, I feel like it's just going to be like insane, like catch point variance that favors the offense. I don't think it's going to be, oh, they broke their structure here, they don't have the talent there. Just be like, that guy just got beat in a tightly contested throw, or that guy just missed an unfortunate tackle that led to some random 40-yard explosive run. Otherwise, like structurally, they account for everything that you would face in the NFC. You even talked about, and many of us did last year, they kind of had a first down problem, right? Which stemmed from play action and then run defense from certain formations. Those aren't an issue anymore. They fixed those. I mean, they have I should say they have like one weakness, and it's a very small weakness right now. It's play action defense in the flat specifically, but play action everywhere else is just fine. If that's your only weakness is throws to the flat, like I'll take that, because that means that there's nowhere else. Like the offense doesn't want to build their offense out of flat throws, right? They want to they want to attack you at the meatier parts of the field. So that means that you're choking them out, and they have nowhere else to go with the ball. So I feel I feel like the defense will stick the landing. I really want to see the Rams game because, one, it's good scheme, but also really good quarterbacks. You're getting both of those at the same time. That will really be the test of what you've got going on defensively. But again, on paper, like I've never felt this strong about a Seahawks defense in years. So
that's good to hear. And for folks that don't know, I'm thinking most people probably do, but one of the things, I mean, nobody gets everything right. I certainly don't. You guys last year, you and Maddie were on the Ryan Grubb problems from really the jump in terms of the way that play action was being used, how it was not actually married up with the run game at all. You guys were on the linebackers as issues early in the season, and all of that kind of came to fruition. And so this year, you talk about there's a little bit more things going right schematically. I'd be curious to hear on the defensive side, like what are some of the things that you've seen that have changed? And I know there's some stuff on the offensive side we'll talk about as well that maybe is not as quite as sound as the defense.
Well, it starts with the run. I mean, in the AFC football, Mike Macdonald, I mean, he inherited a scheme via Wink Martindale, Dean Pease, all those guys going back to really like the 2001 Ravens or whatever year they won the Super Bowl that year. Was it 2000? Like
the Ravens win the Super Bowl?
Yeah. 2001, the Rex Ryan defense. I'm blanking on the year. With Jamal.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, with Jamal Lewis, Ray Lewis, that team.
So, 2002, I think.
Yeah, 2002. Okay, so that defensive legacy, like
2000. Sorry, 2000.
2000. Okay, so that defensive legacy essentially is carried all the way through to Mike Macdonald. But during that time, as we know, football has changed quite a bit in the last 25 years offensively, and so then defenses follows what the offensive trends are. And so at the time of Mike Macdonald becoming a defensive coordinator, you're seeing more spread offense, you're seeing more quarterback run game, you're seeing more shotgun, you're seeing more 5-man protection, 5.5-man protection. Whereas in the years prior under Wink Martindale, Wink Martindale was blitz heavy, right? So and Mike Macdonald is not blitz heavy. He'll send his replacement pressures, the 4-man pressures, the sim and creepers, right? But it's worth asking yourself, okay, well, why did Mike become a 4-man pressure team when his immediate predecessors were blitz heavy, even though he's still working out of the same playbook, more or less? And the answer is because, well, you don't need to break 5-man protection with 6 and 7 guys. You can do it with 4 and 5 guys. And so when you transition to the NFC, where, hey, they kind of play like modern old school, like a modern take on old school football, at least numbers wise, where there's more players in the core, more players in the box, creating more gaps. Then you need to be able to match numbers in the box via what you line up in pre-snap and then what you do post-snap. So last year, really the reason why they had these run defense issues, especially on first down, that's this circumstance when you would see even the most heavy formations, right? Well, he was just putting 4 bodies in the line of scrimmage. And it's really difficult to, even if you're loading the box, it's really difficult to take on 6-7 blockers on the line of scrimmage with only 4 bodies, so that the doubles stay on the doubles stay on the defensive lineman longer. It's easier for the second level to get misaligned. So this year we're seeing more 5-man fronts. He's able to pair that with nickel. We're seeing nickel pair. We're seeing nickel under. And then not only that, but he's also, even when he does want to line up in his 4-2-5 structures with 2 deep safeties, because you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't want to pivot so much that you are no longer your nucleus of play calls, right? What you are philosophically. Off of that 4-2-5 look, he's able to create 5-man fronts post snap via blitzing a weak side linebacker, blitzing the mic for run purposes, not for pass purposes. So he's doing a lot of run blitzing. He's really attacking the run structures of the offense. He's got a variety of ways to do it. He's not what's called double rotating anymore, which he did last year, where that's where you put the safety down to the same side, essentially, as where there is a gap that is not open. So you're rotating your run help to an area where he doesn't need to give help, essentially, which misaligns everyone diagonally to their immediate run fit. So now he's single rotating. So he's rotating the run help, the safety, to the opposite side. So where there is a gap for him to play, which isn't just easier on that safety, but it's easier on everyone else, because that means they just get to come forward. So he's got a variety of scheme tools that are designated for the run, and that also helps you in play action, because if you can key the run quicker, or if you can key blocks quicker, and you make that an easier assignment, it makes it easier to then diagnose if it's actually play action. And so we're seeing the play action improve too. And then also we should just say that Ernest Jones is just a very good hook dropper. He's just a really good zone dropper. He understands what's going on there. So really the way I view it is that it's Mike adapting to the math of the NFC, and kind of taking all of his, like, I want to attack what you're doing up front, or the AFC, that same philosophy, just applying that philosophy to different realities in the NFC. So instead of being kind of let me destroy your pass protection, it's let me destroy your run fits or your run structures, which then destroys your play action, which then sets up a 3rd and long for me, and I can just send 4 ferocious pass rushers at you all day long. And occasionally he'll do some fun blitz packages, but it's not been as frequent as it was in Baltimore. So I just think it's really cool of him really adapting in real time, and for a young coach to do that when he made his hay on doing certain things. Now he's applying his same playbook and doing it in other ways on a dime, really. So it's been really encouraging to see.
Well, perfectly segued with the dime reference. I was talking to Coach Cody Alexander earlier this week, and his belief is that what the Seahawks are going to do once Devin Witherspoon and Julian Love and those guys come back is that they're going to play more dime, and that there's definitely a trend across the league. I noted this in one of my shows this offseason. Teams like the Rams, I think the Vikings, there's a few teams playing a lot of dime defense last year. I think the Rams played it almost a quarter of the time. Mm-hmm. And if you can play dime defense and be good against the run, then you kind of have everything you could possibly want as a defensive coach. And then they would play Emmanwori and Witherspoon somewhat inside, and they'd play Job and Woolen, assuming Woolen's still on the team, outside. I'm curious, what are your thoughts about that?
I'm for it. So Emmanwori, he's off to a high profile start, right? He's doing some splashy things. I think there are some, if you watch every snap on film, there are some warts there. I don't think, as an example, I don't think he's the 5th best safety in the league or whatever, according to PFF.
He's not even the safety anymore, according to PFF.
He's playing nickel. But if you think about all the things that nickel is asked to do, they're asked to do nickel stuff, linebacker stuff, safety stuff, right? So it's a really good crash course. Which is to say, really quick, and even more, I think anytime he's doing something that is the corner aspects of nickel play, so one-on-one coverage, I think has been really good. I think coming downhill when he can key what the action is early, and he doesn't have to think very much, he can just go. You're seeing all of his testing show up. When he's in the box, effectively playing like linebacker, I think he has some work to do with the initial diagnosis. His initial footwork is off, making sure that he's playing low, because he can play pretty high. That also affects him with play action. He's gotten got a few times on play action. Then I think when he's like pure zone dropping, so like essentially again what a linebacker might do, but nickels have to do it too. I think he needs to understand a little bit more of how pass concepts are attacking his zone specifically in the broader context of what his zone's supposed to do in the coverage. But then he also had that amazing pass breakup over the middle against play action where he overlapped, and it was like my eyes jumped out of my skull when I saw that, because that's him. That's not just him being fast and being physical. Like that's all this groundwork you have to do to make a play like that is you have to be really heady, understanding what the possibilities are, combining your pre-snap indicators with your post-snap indicators, and then go execute. Like that was like, wow, okay, that's that canary in the coal mine. We really want to see more of that, because think about what that would unlock given his traits. There's more we want to see, but like I'm okay with putting him at dime just to get him snaps, because even if he has weaknesses, the scheme and the defense is so good that they can accommodate having relative weaknesses in certain areas, and then that doubles as giving him just more reps in the system. And so those reps at dime would help him at nickel and would eventually help him at safety as well. So like I don't see any drawbacks to it. Like I'm not very high on Drake Thomas. I don't really think he's playing that well. Even I do believe he's playing better the past 2 weeks. I'm not really convinced that they're going to stick with him. So however poorly I think Thomas is, I still think Emmanwori's better there. You know, I do think that like the Niners game could give him trouble. I think Shanahan might put the microscope on him for a game on a young player, on a rookie. But by and large, I mean, I think dime is the way to go to get all these skill sets on the field, and then also to continue to help Nick grow. So.
Yeah, you've been on a journey with Nick. You know, I definitely give you your flowers for some of the stuff you were spot on, but like I've been wrong on so many things. Do you feel like you've learned anything with how he's played relative to your expectations?
The number one thing that jumps out is how physical he's being. I was really like, so when I was watching his college film, it's like you can say like, well, he needs to improve here and needs to improve there, but then when you get to the concept of being, that we like to throw out, that I'm not sure even means anything, but all of us, we like to use the term sea hockey. And I'm like, I'm watching a guy that literally runs away from blockers. I'm not watching a guy that likes to come up and kill people. Like this doesn't, if he's going to be raw and rough over here, like at least be something that is like an innate quality you can't teach. And I'm not seeing it. Sure enough, I don't know what happened. Like maybe just because of how competitive everyone else is in the back seven, maybe the way Carl Scott and Mike are coaching him, and adding dirty, but like he's playing really physical. Like he's using his body. There's been a couple of times where he's had a lead blocker come up on him in the box, and he's shied away like twice. But otherwise, he's going. Like he's playing through receivers on the perimeter, through tight ends. That one play against the Jags where his number 2 key opens up for the ball, so he knows immediately a screen's coming. Instead of staring at the receiver, his eyes immediately transition to the number 3, which is a tight end, which is good, because in college he wasn't doing that. He would just continue to stare at the receiver and then get blocked out of the play by the adjacent blocker because he's not even getting eyes on him. So you're seeing his eye progression. Number 2 runs essentially a smoke route where you receive for the ball and his eyes immediately go to number 3. It's like, okay, he's already doing things process-wise he wasn't doing in college. And then not only that, he gets to the guy by getting to the blocker in time, allows him to play the proper technique. Because if you're late, technique doesn't matter, right? He gets on him and then he ragdolls him, essentially 2 gaps in the tight end, and snatches him and then makes a play on the ball. I'm like, okay, that's 6'3", 225 with your explosive testing actually showing up, materializing on the screen before us. And there were not very many examples of that in college. So for like his biggest hit in college, he fell backwards just from my own memory. That's not happening now in the NFL. So whatever they've got going on there, from a motivation standpoint, technique standpoint, that stuff is really showing up. So the physicality for me is the biggest thing, and I think that will pay dividends because, again, it's indicative of a mindset. So I also made this comment about how when he was in the slot, I thought his press man technique in the slot was like immaculate, to the point where like, why can't this guy be a Brandon Browner-esque outside corner? Like and sure enough, I think he said on a 710 interview that he was a corner in high school.
Yeah, he was a corner. Yeah, I
Yeah.
talked to him about that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. So it makes sense. Like the guy has natural corner feet at the line of scrimmage. In off man, I thought that his technique would break down a little bit. And I think because of his, what I observe as stiffness, I think he was afraid of his transition when he's in off to play the vertical, that he would open early on vertical routes. Which is fine for defending the vertical route, but it comes at the expense of defending everything else in the route tree, essentially. Anything that happens at like the 3 to 5 break area, then like the 7 to 10 yard break area, he'd be late to defend. So this year, they have him playing a conservative technique a little bit. He's scooching as opposed to catch. Catch is when you don't yield any ground. Scooching, you kind of yield some ground. But it's very good scooch technique, and it's allowing him to choke. Actually to be competitive at the 10, the intermediate break area. So that's just to put the entire category of like one-on-one coverage in the slot, he looks really good. We haven't really seen him get tested yet on like a hard charging dig route, like speed cut dig route yet, where he's got outside leverage. That will be like the next thing. Or when he's got inside leverage, the same thing going the other directions, like that 12-yard out type route, sail route. That will be the next thing I want to see. But his technique is so improved there that I feel pretty good about it. The main thing that I'm still looking at is when he's a true box player as a nickel, or even if you're aligned to the slot as a nickel, you get motioned into the action so much. Like Cliff Kingsbury does that a lot. He makes your nickel function as a weak side linebacker. It makes the weak side linebacker function as the nickel. Essentially, he'll motion Drake Thomas out of the action, and then he'll motion Nick into it. Not that what Cliff does after the fact is terribly impressive, but like he does like to break your structure pre-snap. So like I want to see the box work, like what his eye progression looks there. But he's got so much opportunity to grow at that. And again, like that play against the Texans when that big pass breakup over the middle against a concept that almost every team uses and almost every team has success with, that play action dig route. It's really hard to defend. So if you've got a guy that has that range that can do that, if his eyes, again, I keep saying his eyes, but if eyes keep improving, like the potential is, as we always knew, is through the roof. So,
yeah, I think that's part of why I'm always I'm caught by players that have elite athletic traits, so that if their football also matches up with their athleticism, then the ceiling is truly elite. And what Nick's put on tape already, whether it's running down the field with Jalen Noel, whether it's that break on that dig route, whether it's some of his run support, whether it's his tackling against the screen, he's showing, whether it's his blitzing too. I think his blitzing off the edge, he's long, he's fast, and he gets there quickly. I think those all make it a little bit tenuous, or at least give some trepidation to an OC who wants to say, all right, we're going to pick on this kid, because even if they get him, his length and speed and jumping ability have the chance to erase some of the mistakes that he might make on first read. So it's going to be interesting to watch. He will make mistakes. He is a rookie, and it will take some time, but it's really encouraging to see that. Yeah, I mean, one of the other things that I was kind of curious about, and I we're already halfway through, and I haven't even brought up the topic that I teased at the jump for the show. JSN, man, like, I have to admit that I thought this game against the Texans would be the tough one, that this might be the one where, like, okay, Sam is going to look like the bottom of Sam Darnold's variance, and JSN may not get the ball as much, or they might take him away and other guys are going to have to step up. I think we got a little bit of the bottom part of Sam's variance in at least a few plays, but we also got some top shelf stuff. And then JSN, I think we pretty much only got top shelf stuff from him. Yeah. He made Derek Stingley look like any other cornerback for that game. So I'm really curious where you're at on JSN. Is there a defense out there that you think is going to be able to take him away?
Well, I keep waiting for like the schematic counterpunch of like how our team's going to try to create double coverage on Jaxon.
Well, the Texans did it sometimes, right? He was breaking their brackets to the outside and like multiple times.
Yeah, true. So Derek Stingley, for my money, is probably the best corner in the game. And he has the best feet in the game, the best technique in the game. And he had a complete breakdown of fundamentals this game. And so, which is to say that, like, I think Jaxon had him absolutely terrified. Because it's one thing to like beat a player when they're playing really good technique and you win anyway. And then it's another thing when you're playing a player that historically has excellent technique and then he has a horrible game through the lens of things that were within his control. So if Derek Stingley is having a fundamental breakdown, that means JSN's in his head and he was just playing terrified. Because it looks so easy because it was so easy because Stingley was playing horrible. And it's like, well, why is he playing? Like, why? Like, at least make it hard on the guy, right? Like, if you're like, make it as hard as possible on the elite receiver. But he made it as easy as possible because, again, he was playing horribly. And I think because JSN was in his head, like, he did not trust his footwork. He was over pursuing. He was opening his hips early. You could tell he was worried about other things. And the other part of that is that Jason's so good at hiding his intentions, hiding his route, because his hip and pad level is always the same no matter what route he's running. So he's so hard to read through the stem. But yeah, if Stingley can't do it, like, who's gonna do it? You know,
that's the question. I mean, if I kept waiting, Griff, because like one of the stories for me of this season has honestly been box count on both sides of the ball. Like that, if I was boiled down, not to someone who's a casual fan, but just in general, Mike, to your point, has been able to actually leave extra guys in coverage because he doesn't blitz. And, they've been playing dime or nickel, at a high nickel at a high rate. And they still can stop the run, right? So that's lower box count on defense, still being able to defend the run and be able to rush the passer. On offense, they've been playing 21 and 12 personnel. They've been doing things with motion to basically force heavy boxes. They faced one of the heaviest box counts heavy box counts in the NFL. And they've been able to play action off of that and get a lot of explosives. They haven't been able to run the ball, but that's really advantaged they've done a lot of 2-man routes, and JSN's just been like torching people. I keep waiting for a defense to say, you know what, screw you. We're not going to go heavy box. We're going to stay nickel. And the Texans with Jalen Petrie is probably one of the best equipped teams to do exactly that. And they did, for the most part, stay in their nickel. And the Seahawks did run a little bit better, and JSN was still torching them. And I'm like, okay, man, he's starting to check some boxes where maybe like Russ got it wrong all those years ago. Maybe JSN is Mr. Unlimited. Like, what would you do? What do you think people are going to try to do to take him away?
Yeah, well, I mean, first, we should mention that like a lot of Jason's production, like Kubiak does deserve a lot of credit. I mean, he's part of this. Like it's like a very much a triumvirate going on between Sam, Jason, and Kubiak. So, like you said, they face a lot of one high. They also face a lot of the least disguised coverage. So, what's going on pre-snap with the receivers and the quarterback, and everyone is reading pre-snap, that gets confirmed post-snap. They don't have to do a lot of figuring things out after the fact. And Kubiak does deserve a lot of credit for that, I think. Also, we should mention that.
Wait, don't jump for that. How?
Yeah.
How is that? How is he doing that?
Well, so they spend a lot of time in under center, and under center behavior is very run heavy. So when you're in under center, you're going to get a lot of one high defense to match run heavy offensive tendency. Like you said, you also force a lot of base, and the pass coverage menus out of base for a lot of defenses is really short. So you kind of know what handful of coverages you're going to get. When you go into, so that means you can catch them in something unfavorable, then shift in the shotgun and then throw. He also likes to drop back out of under center to kind of access his drop back game, which is not really the offense's strong suit, nor Darnold's strong suit. You can do it against more favorable looks there. Also, the other side of this is when it's also a lot of pre-snap motion. So they spend a lot of time pre-snap to figure out what the defense is doing and make them declare themselves via the motion. But then the other side of this is like I still believe that like all things equal, if DK was on the team, they'd be a better offense than otherwise. But by his absence, because DK, if he's on your offense, he merits, kind of forces you to play so spread out. With DK off the team, now their splits are one of the most narrow, the most reduced splits in the league. And that benefits JSN as well, because you can get him free releases. You can mix and match. Like when you're the outside corner, a lot of the reasons, like those easy access throws, even like into the intermediate area, like that 10 to 15 yard area, the corners play off because they don't know who their number one and who their number two is. When you face a stack on a reduced split, they have to read those releases. They can't just key one guy all the way through. So even if they identify the right guy at the right time, they don't get to read that the right guy's stem early on, because sometimes receivers kind of tip what route they're running very early on in the route. So reduced splits make it, one, hard to play the right leverage, two, difficult to know who you have to play, and then three, difficult to read the guy once you find out who you have to play. So JSN gets to benefit all those, is the beneficiary of all those things. And DK no longer being on the team allows them to play reduced splits. So it's good for JSN. It may not necessarily be good for the entire pass catching group. I would have been very curious to know what Kubiak would have been able to do with DK, given what he did with Raheed Shaheed and stuff. But that's like, I'm fine with the trade and everything. I'm not trying to relitigate that. I'm just not trying to drag DK into this either, because I think that gets reduced a little bit. Yeah, so I mean, it's a lot of these factors that are really helping Jaxon out. And
so I interrupted you. So back to how someone would try to take him away or limit him. What would they do?
Well, I mean, it would be more disguised coverage, give them looks and then play something else. And D'Amico Ryans is not afraid to do that. And like you said, like he was still addressing those cones and brackets anyway. At this point, I mean, I would try to, and teams are doing this, unfortunately. Well, actually, it depends. But what I was going to say, like try to kill the run on first down as much as you can. Not to get too like sidewinding here, but the Seahawks offense, they're 1st and 10, like under center running. When they're doing zone, they're actually okay. Like they're actually like top 12 when they're running under center zone on 1st and 10. It's literally everything else, shotgun or under center gap scheme change-ups, where it all falls apart for them. But if you can just kill every run that you can, which allows you to get into more of your disguised coverages and allow you to kind of disregard the heavier formations that you'll see, that Kubiak will still play on 2nd down and treat it like a pass down, like a pure pass down instead of a run-in pass down. I mean, that's the angle I would get into, more pressure design, like scheme pressure, have more underneath droppers. I would show quarters and play a cloud, show cloud and play quarters, so that they can't, to try to mess with their route conversions and stuff. This is what I would say. The number one thing I would say with Jaxon, if I'm a DC and I'm trying to defend Jaxon Smith-Njigba, do not let the 4-6 guy get over the top on you on a post. Like that cannot happen. So, and you they've hit 3 of them to him, or like 3 like 30 plus air yards, right? 3 or 4.
Oh my God, he's had one almost every week.
Okay, yeah. So
he's had a 35 plus yard catch, I think, every game this season.
Yeah, man. Like I don't, and like, he's not supposed to be doing that. But he is. And part of his, like, he's so good at controlling his own speed that he lulls the corner to sleep. He's like, no, I'm in phase. I'm fine. Like I got him. I can keep eyes. I can peek the quarterback. And then all of a sudden he zooms up from like 70% speed to 85% speed, like in an instant. His 85% max speed does not need to be faster than the corner's 85% max speed. He just needs to get from 70 to 85 or whatever faster than that corner can accelerate. Yeah. And that's how he's getting open on these. Like you watch him, he's like almost jogging, and then he just zooms up and the corner can't catch up in time. If the route kept going another 10 yards, then the corner would have caught up, right? But it doesn't need to go for another 20 yards. It just needs to go for another 10. So and that's against quarters too. That's not against cover 3, cover 1. That's against 2 high coverage. And you see the safety lying low because they're trying to play the over routes. Say like it's a Mills concept. You've got an over route, then a deep post over the top of it, or a Yankee where the crossing route's coming from the other side and he's running the post. The safety wants to give help to the rest of the concept because they're playing their rule and they just assume the corner's okay. At this point, the quarter safety with the near help safety, he has to stay home and he just has to, like, whatever happens, if that ball comes out, it will have dual leverage on the route itself. If he catches it, fine, I'll live with it. But we're playing dual leverage on JSN when he goes deep. And so it's just safety is not playing with enough respect for him. I think they're going to start doing that. So if anything, like, do not let this guy beat you over the top, and then let the chips fall where they may elsewhere. But that's where I would start, is not letting him.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: is, like, as I was doing this article, we're talking to Griff Sturgeon in the Seattle Overload podcast, by the way. As I was doing my article and looking back at these teams, one of the teams that most reminded me of this 5-2 start was actually the 2005 Seahawks. And I didn't expect that when I went into it. But part of the reason is Shaun Alexander was kind of this inevitability behind Walter Jones and Steve Hutchinson. People knew it was coming and they could not stop it. He was MVP that year. He was one of only 4 players since 2000 that were a non-quarterback MVP, and he dominated. And Jackson's having that kind of year right now. It doesn't mean it's going to continue, but right now people know, like, no, there's not a single defensive coach out there that's like, I wonder if they're going to go to JSN this week. Like,
right.
Everyone is saying, okay, we've got to take him away. We've got to take him away. And they've faced some decent defenses with some decent ability to try to do that. And no one's been able to do that. The best was maybe Arizona that held him for a half without anything. And then he still beat them in the end. He had 79 yards in the second half. And the catch that won the game. So there's some similarities there. And I also, there's something that both Mike Holmgren and Pete Carroll used to talk about, which is Pete would talk about it as you want to establish a factor, like, right. And then when you do that, then you can counter off of it. Right. So if teams figure out, like, if they have to do all these hoops, all these bells and whistles to take away JSN, they are going to have to sacrifice something else in the structure of their defense to be able to do that. That's either going to open up the running game. It's going to open up the tight end game. It's going to open up something else that Kubiak can go to. So I don't feel like they only have one thing that they can do. I feel like they've got something and they're going to spam it until somebody stops them. They're basically playing Madden right now.
Right.
So, like, that's one part of it. And the other thing that you said that was interesting to me, Griff, was the first down under center running. The other thing that's going on that's working is 12 personnel. I mean, they're literally number 1 in the NFL in EPA per play when in 12. They are number 2 in the NFL in EPA per pass when in 12. They are number 3 in EPA per rush when in 12. So they're doing everything well. And by the way, it's one of their only personnel packages where they are 50.8% pass. So they're basically 50-50. The defense cannot key on whether they're going to run or pass because they're doing it equally out of both, and they're doing them both well. I wonder when Robbie Oots comes back. As much as we all love Robbie Oots and what they were doing with 21 personnel, I wonder if that's going to be something that helps the running game get going, or if moving away from 12 personnel could potentially actually hurt the offense.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. The value of the fullback isn't just in the blocking; it's the ability to shift into different formations and manipulate the defense. So maybe Kubiak would reintegrate him with that in mind. Because I mean, you can still put him out in the field and have him line up a tight end, because that's a lot.
Does that count when they do? I've always wondered that when you bring in Robbie Oots, who is a designated fullback, but he motions into play an inline tight end. Is that 12 or 21?
Yeah, it depends on who you ask in the charting companies. So, like, I know PFF charts personnel, but then they also chart actual formations, like what the formation ends up at, and that stuff is the more proprietary. That's much harder to access. But they do, so they have the right answer, like PFF does, but it's not public facing always. So it is challenging. Like, I know Sports Info Solutions, that they just chart based off of what they have you in your system. So, like, if you're
a fullback, it's going to count at 21.
If you're a fullback,
got it. That's helpful.
So, but it's all in the flexibility. Kubiak likes to be flexible. So I think the more options available to him, the better. That said, I do think they are a better 12 team. You can become kind of predictable when you line up in true I formation, and then you run it like a true fullback as a lead blocker, and the ball actually goes where the fullback goes. Like when Shanahan lines up in true I formation, he's doing all sorts of things, which is checking in the run action, split action, having him like influence block the other direction. Like he's hardly even blocking half the time. With Oots, like dude's 280, you're going to block with him, right? So I don't know. I agree that they are better in 12 though. That seems to match on tape, and give them more options especially with how much that Kubiak likes to actually get to the outside and toss to the strong side. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. That will definitely be worth monitoring. Other than that though, you can only kind of guess. So
what do you think their best tight end pair is right now?
Best tight end pair? I mean, probably Barner and honestly, I don't think it matters so long as Barner's out there.
Barner somebody. I knew that. I figured that.
Yeah. I mean,
it's interesting because Arroyo feels like he's like, I'm seeing glimpses of him start to be a threat, and his blocking's been better than I thought it would be. Like I knew he was wheeling, but I didn't think it would be competent, and I think it's been approaching competent. I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I would
been a really good blocker.
Yeah, I mean, Saubert is a good blocker. I agree. I think it merits giving Arroyo snaps though, because I also, you want him as a receiver, you want him out on the field.
Agreed.
For play action. And if, like you were saying, if JSN does get clamped down on more, what's the counter punch? Like Arroyo is going to have to be part of that answer. So
that's my thought too.
Yeah.
I've been thinking this, Griff, that the ideal end to this season in terms of building up like the Seahawks becoming a more complete, tougher defense or tougher offense to deal with. Part of that includes Elijah Arroyo becoming a factor in his own. That defenses are like, oh shit, like we're holding JSN to 75 yards instead of 130 yards. Great, but now Elijah Arroyo is getting 50 yards and a touchdown, and he's hitting some explosives on us. Because I love AJ Barner, I think he can continue to be part of it. I don't know that he's going to always be a huge separation guy. I don't know if a defense really decides to take him away. I don't know that I necessarily think that he's going to be a guy that you can always count on being open. But Arroyo feels like he's the right combination of athleticism, catch radius, route running, where if he can get going, that feels like a key part. I'm curious your thoughts.
No, I agree. I mean, Arroyo, he's one of those guys at his weight class that can actually shake guys, like actually, run those routes. So he needs the opportunities. I mean, they kind of have this ensemble group past JSN. They've got like 4 guys that are like, they're all kind of at each other's like skill level, even though they have different skill sets between what's left of Cup, Barner's growth, Arroyo's growth, Horton's growth. Like none of them are able to really separate themselves yet from the pack, which is a good thing too, right? It means you've got depth there and options, and any one guy can maybe pop off to have a good game, which has kind of happened. Like Barner's had a game, Cup's had a game, right? Horton has had a game. I really, but just by virtue of Arroyo and Barner still being so young, like they're just, it's a development arc. They could blow up at any moment, it's just how this goes, especially Arroyo with his raw potential. So, just the opportunities have to come. And, it would be curious to see, because on film, and Sam has mentioned this, he's like, well, I'm throwing it to JSN because he's off to the first read in the progression and he's open, we wouldn't necessarily know to the extent that the other players can play if JSN wasn't open. Like maybe he'd progress to them and get the ball to them. Like Jackson's kind of sealing their targets, right? Which is a good thing for right now. But there might be like hidden potential that's already there, but that just hasn't come to fruition yet.
I mean, I don't know if I remember specifically watching film of the the Jacksonville game, and watching I was doing it to watch JSN run these crazy routes and just burn people. And then I'd see on the opposite side of the field, Torrey Horton running a similar concept, and he was getting open too. but like he's not getting the ball because he's certainly not the first read. So I've got you for a few more minutes. There's a few more topics I hope we can cover, but one of them, I think you've correctly identified one of the things that is a weakness of this offense, which is when it's a predictable pass situation, when you're doing drop back passing, this offense has not performed that well. Do you think that's something that they can get away with? Do you think that's something where there's an opportunity to improve that? And if so, how do you improve on that?
Yeah. So offensively, I mean, if you were to break down, so I know DVOA has them differently. I've been using EPA as my frame of reference. So like right now they're 14th in EPA as an offense overall. But then as we know, that's driven by the like 9th ranked pass offense and then like bottom ranked run defense, right? So it adds up to what it adds up to. So if you want to climb up that chart, you want to be higher than 14th. And I think their points per drive is around that area as well. If you want to improve, it's like, all right, well, if those are your pass numbers, those are your run numbers, your options are either to pass more, to access more of your efficient aspects of your offense, or to run better. I don't know if they're going to necessarily be able to improve the running game this year. But then passing more,
Why?
Well, I mean, they can, right? I'm not saying they can't, but just through 7 games, they might just kind of be a yo-yo run offense where like they have a couple of good series where they just get shut down. Maybe when they get their fullback back, that will change things. But I think that they probably remain bottom 10 in rush offense. So if you want to improve your offense, the only other category to go, if you're painting in broad strokes, is to pass more. But if you were to do that hypothetically, the category you'd be accessing isn't play action because you've already kind of scaled that to its kind of peak in terms of how frequently you can do it. The category that usually comprises pass volume fluctuations is that pure dropback figure, especially at a shotgun. And on an EPA basis, they're like 27th out of 32 on pure non-play action dropbacks out of shotgun this year. And I think that's driven by a variety of things. I think it's overall it's a team stat. Like it's in order to be good at that, you have to have good protection, as we know. You have to have enough skill talent, but it's not Sam Darnold's bag. Like even though as exciting of as a year he had last year, like that was his relative weakness. He was like mildly below average in that figure last year. This year it's even worse, but again, like multiply that by Seattle's which their protection's improved a little bit, but I mean they really only have one bona fide in this moment above average target in Jaxon. So that's also a contributing factor. But also if you were to pass more, that means getting less predictable pass looks, as we talked about at the top of the show. That means seeing more coverage disguise. That means seeing less one high, less loaded boxes. So it's a tricky spot for Kubiak to be in. I think the main thing that Sam is doing in that category that is helping them is that when there isn't something available, or if he isn't able to progress to the right answer, because I will say the past 2-3 weeks in that pure dropback arena, he has been leaving some open guys on tape, and those cracks are starting to show a little bit. But what he's doing that most quarterbacks in that same circumstance would not do is that when the play isn't there, he's not taking a sack. He's not taking excess surplus sacks, which is really good. So the damage mitigation, instead of it being a -3, it's just a 0, right? Or whatever.
Yeah, that's why the Texans game was concerning to me, to be honest, because
sure. And maybe we start to see more of that. The flip side is the play action is so effective. Their yards per attempt on play action is literally the best in the past 11 seasons. It's by like a full yard. It's 13.7 yards per attempt. So
it was 15 for a while.
It was 15, but even through 7 games, 13.7 is crazy. I mean, like 9.5 would be leading the league this year.
Yeah.
So I think that number will fall, just not because they'll play worse or not because what we're seeing is fake, but just like the same reason why Steph Curry doesn't shoot 60% from 3 for longer than a week at a time, right? Like he'll have a week, but it's not going to last for a month. It just can't. It's math, right? So I feel like that play action figure will fall. I still think it'll settle in at top 3, maybe even lead the league still. But will that be enough? Will the historic play action production be enough to offset that shotgun dropback figure continuing to fall? And that's where, like, I don't have any predictions. I'm just saying that's what I'm looking for, like what happens there. Ideally, that number just improves. And maybe that can happen as Arroyo and Horton continue to grow as rookies, and they can pick up that slack. Maybe Sam just becomes unconscious in that area and he just starts seeing everything. I mean, he's had some moments where he did things as a quarterback this year that he did not do last year. Progressing. I mean, the amount of, in the pure dropback area, like I can actually give you a real stat. The amount of times that he accessed the second level of the defense past read 2, so reads 3, 4, and 5 of the progression, he did twice all year last year in my own personal charting. I watched every single Sam Darnold Viking step. He's done it like 5 times this year, which is to say that that's indicative that he's seeing things that he wasn't seeing last year. Again, part of that might be because he knows what he's progressing into because the coverages have been predictable. They did throw more in Minnesota last year. Maybe the coverages weren't as predictable, and that's when he would hesitate because he didn't know what he was going to look at backside. So it could be kind of circular there. I don't know. We only have to see, but I imagine Kubiak's going to continue to run a lot. He's going to continue to rely on play action. We just have to hope that that drop back figure, when they do it, and they don't do it very much, that improves. So,
Griff, can I be greedy and ask you 2 more questions?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. So first one, trade deadline's coming up. And I'm curious if you think, like, one of the things that I'm a little perplexed by is I know that adding a Rashid Shaheed or a Chris Olave or someone of that nature would be a smart long-term move and also beneficial even this year, right? I also think that taking Cooper Kupp off the field, who's been maybe your best run blocker, like, or one of the best blockers, who's also been performing okay, there's a challenge there. Maybe taking Torrey Horton off the field, maybe that's an okay sacrifice for this season, but it's also a guy that you want to keep developing. So are like, 1, do you go and make a deal for Rashid Shaheed? 2, who do you sacrifice? And 3, if not a deal for receiver, what would you, is there any other deal that you'd jump at if you could to help improve this team?
Yeah, I'm with you on the concerns of not wanting to block young players developing. It would be one of those things where if it happens, it's because Kubiak really wanted it, and I'm willing to defer to him. I think he knows exactly what he wants to do all the time. So if you're making a trade with the New Orleans Saints for a player that he's coached, then, like, all right, it's probably a good thing. So, like, it will be very much a results-based analysis for me. Like, whatever happens, if it happens, it was the right thing to do because it means he really wanted it. It kind of feels Madden-esque, like Madden rostering, but like if they want to trade for a right guard and just airdrop him into the offense, I wouldn't be against it. You want to throw a 5th or 6th round pick for Joel Bitonio or whoever, I can't imagine that would be a downgrade. And I feel bad for Bradford because he is playing the best football of his career. It's just still not enough. I don't think Christian Haynes is the answer, unfortunately. I was really hoping coaching staff could do something with him. That combined with his injury, it's just not happening probably. But I'm not opposed to any move there.
It's nice to hear your perspective there on right guard. It is what I would expect from you, which is informed. I don't mind people like saying, hey, it's not good enough. He's not a good player. He's not playing well enough. That I totally get. But if you're not looking at the guard play around the NFL, I mean,
yeah,
I talked to plenty of Texans folks after that game. If you don't think they are freaking out about their guard play after that game, you're wrong. Like the Dolphins freaking out about their guard play. The Vikings, who did all of this work in the offseason, are freaking out about their, like, the state of guards in the NFL is so bad that he's like in the realm of starter. Like, he is in the realm of starter based on how bad it's been. But if you can improve there, heck yeah, do it. All right. So last thing I wanted to talk to you about, there's actually 10 more things, but I'm going to limit myself. I have some self-control. Is Geno and the Raiders. Like, I was so excited to see Geno play with the Raiders indoors. Like, I thought he was going to have a season of his career potentially. I
Yeah.
was excited to see Pete come in there, the vibes, Marshawn Lynch at the press conference. Like, I was like, okay, it's going to be fun. I never thought I'd cheer for the Raiders as a former AFC West division rival, but here I am. And it's been awful, man. Like, it's gotten to the point where I almost can't look. It's like a car crash.
Yeah.
And I feel like the bad things are coming for Pete. Bad things are already here for Geno. What do you make of what's going on down there?
Man, it's been rough. I don't know where to start. It's definitely a perfect storm of things going wrong from just about every angle. So in watching Geno's film himself early on, even in that Patriots game when it started off great, the ball was coming off of his hand early in his release. And I talked to Nate Tice about that, and he wasn't giving an opinion on Geno. He was just giving an opinion on the specific question I was asking him. And he said when that happens, often it's because they're overstriding in their with their front foot, and they're causing, because that means that the ball is coming down late, and then the ball comes out, or the foot is coming down late, and then the hand has nowhere to go, and it comes off the hand early, and then that ends up leading to sailed passes. Even though he played well that Patriots game, he was kind of airing the ball a little high even on some completions. And I'm used to seeing him like rifling it down. And then he did have a hamstring thing going on in August. So I wonder if he has a lower so just to discuss his accuracy issues, because he's not the same quarterback throwing the ball. Like, it's not as accurate as he was last year. I wonder if he's got lower body soft tissue thing going on, because there's something wrong with his mechanics. Maybe that's getting better. I'm not sure. But then also he's getting fooled by things that didn't ever fool him before. Like his interceptions in Seattle, for example, last year. I thought like the surplus of them were due to like not his fault, but there's still a collection of them that are his fault. Like, I think he should have had about 10 interceptions last year. The interceptions that are his fault, I don't remember thinking that he got fooled by the coverage. It was more like, I know what I'm looking at. I'm going to try to make this throw, and maybe I shouldn't be trying to throw this, or it's just an inaccurate throw, and it's just, he needed to place it a few inches higher, because he's not afraid to throw a tight window ball, as we know. This year, though, most of his interceptions are like not reading the flat defender right, or not reading and nailing down safety in Tampa 2 invert, which, like, he saw lots of that in the NFC West. So I don't know what to make of that, other than he's not reading it right. Like, was there how they're organizing themselves in the film room, how it's being coached, what to look for? Like, is that different? Like, I don't know. Like, I believe by and large, a quarterback at this stage of his career is who he's going to be, no matter who's coaching him. I mean, he had different coordinators and different head coaches in Seattle, so it's not like, So I mean, he's just not seeing the field well. I think that is actually,
maybe it's a Chip Kelly thing.
Well, that was the other thing. So I was really high on Chip Kelly, right? I liked his offense. I thought at OSU, I thought he wouldn't have the issues that Grubb did. And while he's having issues, they're not the same issues. Like, he's actually blending run and pass fine, but his dropback game is really uninspiring. And I do wonder about how the receivers are being coached. Like, Dante Thornton's making a lot of errors with his routes, like running the wrong route, frankly, or slowing down when he shouldn't. And Geno's an anticipatory thrower. So, like, 2 of the interceptions, it's like Thornton screwing him over, frankly, and Trey Tucker screwing him over. Not to say the others aren't his fault. They are his fault, but it's a team game, right? So, like, yeah, I was way wrong on Chip Kelly too. I really thought he'd be special. He does some things where it's like, all right, that was a cool Chip Kelly idea, but it's not built into an overall cohesive offense. And then also, when Brock Bowers is hurt, however good you're going to be, you're not going to be that with an unhealthy Brock Bowers.
Sure.
And then Jacob Myers, he's had a contract issue since the offseason, and he's also gotten dinged up. So it's like, skill talent, quarterback not being what he was, and then the offensive coordinator not being anything that you thought you were getting. It's been rough. Defensively, though, I will say I actually think the defense is performing about where I thought they'd be. I thought they'd be about a middle of the pack defense. I thought, built off of the backs of capping air yard explosives and stuffing the run, and then everything else will be up for grabs. That's more or less been that would define their production profile on defense. So they don't have a lot of talent there. Mm-hmm. I think that they're doing an okay job with the corners, and they are stuffing the run, but they need better linebacker play, and they need to add another safety. But yeah, so it's been really difficult to watch if you were cheering for these guys, because I was cheering for them, which does not come at the expense of my Seahawks fan. I
I
just
know.
got
I get that about you. I do. I
put
absolutely
that
do.
out there. They're not in conflict. But yeah, it's been hard to watch, man. I really wanted it to. I wanted those two lovebirds, Pete and Geno, to fly off into the sunset together, but it doesn't look
Yeah,
like that's
that would have
happening.
been cool. I would have enjoyed that. I mean, I I said multiple times coming into this year. I mean, I was asked on the radio. I was asked multiple places. I was asked on Raiders radio. Like, uh, I thought Geno is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. Like flat. I thought the Seahawks
Yeah,
took a step down. I didn't think Sam Darnold was bad, and I didn't think we were doomed. And I wasn't someone out there saying, the Seahawks made an absolutely terrible move. What are they thinking? But I absolutely said that multiple times.
same.
And I've completely come around to where I think Geno and DK in different ways did the Seahawks a massive favor. Like, whatever the reasons are for Geno having the challenges he is, I've seen enough of Geno throwing some of the same poor decision interceptions. I've heard Pete Carroll say some of the same things that made my skin crawl the last couple of years he was here, where I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, the Seahawks are very fortunate to have moved on from Geno when they did, and to have moved on, frankly, from Pete and had Mike McDonald there. I know you've been in different places on that. Do you feel like you've gotten there, or do you still feel like the Seahawks could be in just as good as a place they are now if they hadn't made those changes?
Well, the way things are going right now, it's like don't touch anything. Like, knock on wood, like just keep it going. For the sake of the thought exercise, yeah, I would 100% would have liked to have seen what Geno would have looked like in the Seahawks offensive context this year. I thought last year under Grubb, they went from one of the most difficult conditions for a quarterback to play in to this year through improvements to the play action. And again, like the offensive coordinator being able to create, frankly, really predictable looks that the quarterback doesn't have a lot of thinking to do. And Geno, who historically I view as like very much a thinking quarterback, a high processor. I would like to see those two things combined, and like what would they've been able to do. I mean, Kubiak probably passes more if Geno's his quarterback than Sam. Again, it goes back to that dropback figure. That said, this might surprise people. Geno's success rate on pure dropbacks at a shotgun this year is ranked 9th. So like that backbone of like process is still there. It's just when he's not doing something that's good, it's been horrifically bad. So it's like the severity of bad things is really bad. The rate of bad things isn't necessarily super high.
Yeah.
So just sake of the pure thought exercise, yeah, of course I'd like to see what Geno looks like here still. Doesn't mean I would go back and change it. If given the option, would you swap quarterbacks right now? I'd say hell no. You know what I mean?
Well,
but if you're going back to the offseason, I'd be curious still.
Even if you just knew one thing, that Sam Darnold was going to perform the way he's performing, to me, that's enough to say no, because he's 28. He is, on a 3-year deal that's a very good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Even if Geno was playing better than Sam this year, like how many more years are you going to get that at 35?
Sure.
So like for me, like that even if Geno maybe he would have been better in this offense than Sam. Like I'm open to that, at least as a possibility, although it seems kind of unlikely given his performance. Just the age gap alone seems to have made that a profitable venture for the Seahawks.
The age is there. For me though, I know this is going to sound trite, but like I don't know what the potential is with Sam in theory, like the theoretical ceiling is. Because what defines the ceiling of an offense is if you can perform well in all categories. And if this is the pass offense at its peak operating ability, and he's still not but the whole pass offense is 27th in EPA and those pure dropbacks, how long can you sustain that formula? I mean, they're kind of they're the 2018 offense of the bad run game essentially. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how sustainable all of that is. And when I say I don't say that rhetorically, like maybe it is sustainable, but I just don't know. We have to see more seasons. So I think they're in a really good spot with Sam's contract, where it's still a friendly contract, but you still have him for 2 more years if you really want him. And so let that play out. And maybe he can, again, continues to grow, because it's still, even though he went from good offensive coordinator, there's still a continuity break going from McConnell to Kubiak. Can he have the same OC for more than 1 year? Like, he deserves that. So he's definitely going to be the quarterback this time next year as well, right? When that was a question in the offseason, it's not a question anymore. So with under year, unless Kubiak gets hired away, and then the cycle repeats. So we'll see, man. I don't know, but things are so much better than they could have been right now, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Griff, amazing. It's so fun to have you back. What's coming up on Seattle Overload for folks to check out?
I don't. We got to figure out our schedule. Our schedules are so messed up. I know I keep saying that, but I think we're going to try to record Monday morning, tomorrow
That's part
morning.
of your charm over there.
Yeah.
You guys can't figure out your schedule. You're late. The dogs bark, like all that stuff. It's part of the whole experience.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, make sure folks check out Seattle Overload and see Mike's Spin Move wherever you get your football news. Griff, have a great rest of your Sunday, man.
Thank you, sir. You too.
All right. That
Take
is
care.
Griff Sturgeon. And I got a couple more things for you guys before I jet. So really, really fun catching up with Griff. And, I've been curious his thoughts on some of those things going on with Geno and Pete, but also like schematically with the defense. And count Griff as another person who's kind of all in on this dime concept, like Cody Alexander. I didn't talk to him as much about the Drake Thomas stuff. I can kind of see where he's going to go with that. I think he's a little bit hard on Drake Thomas. I think Drake Thomas deserves some kudos for the way he's played the last couple of games. And consider these are the first few games he's really played a full game as a starter. I think you give the guy some grace to figure some things out. And I think he's shown a lot in 2 games that honestly, not a lot of the other guys that have been in that role the last couple of years have shown. So I'm not as low on Drake Thomas as Griff. At the same time, I am still higher on Nick Emmanwori and Devin Witherspoon than I am on Drake Thomas. And having both of those guys on the field is something I would love to see. All right, before I get into my next topic, I'm going to go through some of the games today and some pick stuff in a second. But before I do that, Don Hester has gifted 5 Hawk Blogger memberships. I love it when people do this. It's so generous. We are a generous community. That's something we try to focus on. In fact, my wife was just telling me, hey, like folks that are on food stamps are about to lose access to food stamps, and maybe we'll make some donations to some food kitchens. I'm forgetting the right phrase, but anyway, we might be making some donations and contributing our stuff to that. But I love it when folks are generous in chat as well and generous to each other. So 5 Hawk Blogger memberships. Feel free to get one of these by turning on gifting food banks. Thank you, Matthew. And then also make sure you like, subscribe, watch the show. That is how YouTube decides who gets these free memberships. Okay. So couple things. One, this hat I'm wearing, this awesome hat that's also over there, SimplySeattle.com. That's where I got it. Go to SimplySeattle.com, use promo code HawkBlogger15, gets you 15% off the best Seattle sports gear you are going to get, whether it's Seahawks, Mariners, Huskies, who had a big win yesterday, Kraken, all those teams. You can get it at seattlesports.com. You won't regret it. Use code HawkBlogger15. Also, go to jkboots.com/hawkblogger. Get the best pair of boots you will ever put on your feet. I'm looking at pouring rain outside, and it is boot weather officially. So get in there. Go to jkboots.com/hawkblogger. That will get you a special code for a special discount on your JK Boots, and you're going to want it because these aren't cheap, to be honest. They're not cheap, but they are made with love and care, high quality materials, and they will last. So jkboots.com/hawkblogger will get you taken care of there. And then I wanted to do some picks. I want to talk about some of these games before I sign off. So the Seahawks don't play this week. I'm going to be watching that 49ers game at 10 o'clock here in about 45 minutes against the Texans. Go Texans, huge Texans fan. And what do we have to say about that game? Well, let's find it first. Where is the Texans game? There it is. Texans versus 49ers. So both Nico Collins and Christian Kirk are not going to play for the Texans. Son of a... come on, Texans, figure it out. The 49ers are going to be missing still Brock Purdy. He's not going to be playing, but it hasn't really mattered. Mac Jones has been perfectly fine. I am curious, like George Kittle will be there. I'm curious what's going to go on here. I'm not exactly sure what to pick in this game. What kind of gets my attention? Let's look at, do we have sacks? Do we have sacks as an option here? Oh, we do. All right, here's sacks. I'm going to go with Will Anderson. I cannot get both Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. Too bad. All right, I'm picking that. I think Will Anderson's going to get a sack. I like that. He's going to be going against, he'll probably be going against Trent Williams, which actually I'm fine with. Total tackles. I think Jalen Petrie is a good one there. He's going to be in there in nickel. He's going to get a lot of CMC. Azeez Al-Shaair, 7.5 tackles. That's a big number. I think he'll probably get it. I liked Kalen Bullock's game. But let's go with Petrie with more than 5.5 tackles. And then on the other side, I do think that the Texans are going to try to run the ball. So I think you're going to get some 49ers with some tackles. Let's go 8.5 for Tatum Bethune. I don't know about that. 7.5 for D Winters. 2.5 for Michael Williams. That's a little tempting. I don't know. I'm not liking the tackle options. Let's look at rush attempts. Christian McCaffrey is going to get more than 17.5 rush attempts. I think that's for sure. I think Nick Chubb. I'm curious on that one. I wonder if receiving, if we're going to get a little Woody Marks action going on. If we go to receptions, I like Dalton Schultz in this. I'm going to go more than 3.5 catches for Jalen Noel. I like that for the Texans there. So we got a bunch going on. I got Will Anderson with a sack, Jalen Petrie with more than 5.5 tackles, Christian McCaffrey with more than 17.5 rush attempts, and Jalen Noel with more than 3.5 receptions. You can make your picks over there on the Sleeper app. Make sure you use promo code HAWKS. Gets you up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Other games, just to be on your radar as a Seahawks fan. Let's do a quick NFL docket review. So the 10 a.m. slot is, we definitely want to keep our eye on the 49ers Texans. That's the biggest one. Dolphins Falcons a little bit. Like, what's going on with the Falcons? I thought they were maybe going to be good, and then they went bad. Michael Penix Jr., I don't know if we found out if he's even playing yet. I know we probably have. I haven't seen it. But them against the Dolphins, if they lose to the Dolphins, yikes. And then other 10 a.m. games, Giants-Eagles is kind of an interesting one. I really enjoy watching Jackson Dart and Cam Scatteraboo. And the Eagles, I would love to see them continue to fall. I would love that. Now, the Giants beat the Eagles. This is in Philadelphia. I think that's a really tall order for the Giants, but that would be fun. Bills-Panthers is a sneaky, interesting one because the Panthers have won 3 in a row. They are 3-0 at home. The Bills are struggling a little bit, especially to defend the run. And guess what? The Panthers are doing well. The Panthers are a late opponent for the Seahawks and the Rams. You play in Carolina. Carolina might be sneaking up as a tougher team to play than we would have wanted. Ravens Bears, a little bit interesting. I mean, without Lamar Jackson playing, who knows? Like if there's going to be anything. Tyler Huntley starting that game. The Bears being good is helpful because they're going to play the 49ers. But we don't want to be too good because they're 4-2 and they would be 5-2 with a win, which would tie the Seahawks. So we don't want to be too good. And then other games, 1 o'clock, you've got the Bucks against the Saints. Should be an easy one for the Bucks, but the Saints are sneaky. Watch out for them. Cowboys Broncos has no bearing on the Seahawks really, but that is one of the best offenses in football, best quarterbacks in football, going against what has been probably the Seahawks' best competition for best defense in football. Certainly they have the best pass rush in football with Denver. So I would pick the Broncos in that, but I'm curious how that's going to go. Titans, Colts. I mean, I think we all know how that's going to go. And then tonight you got Packers, Steelers. I am a little curious about this one. It's in Pittsburgh, and the Packers are 4-1-1. They lost to the Browns. So weird. They lost to the Browns. They tied the Cowboys, and I just think the Steelers aren't that good. But this is in Pittsburgh. I would love to see Pittsburgh win that game. Go DK Metcalf. Go Aaron Rodgers. Like, do it. Go TJ Watt and whoever else. Nick Herbig, who's turned into like a nightmare of an edge rusher. So that's all good. And then tomorrow night is really the game. Monday Night Football, Commanders, Chiefs. That's the Seahawks' next opponent. I love that, similar to the Jacksonville game, Jacksonville also played the Chiefs on a Monday night at home. In that case, that was at home. And then they won that game and flew home and stayed home to play the Seahawks. They had short rest. They were coming off a top tier opponent and a big win. And I think that factored a little bit in the Seahawks really dominating that game. Commanders are in Kansas City. They're going to be without Jaden Daniels. They're probably going to get killed. Then they're going to fly home on short rest and face a Seahawks team that is coming off a bye. So let's just see how that game goes. I feel like that's going to be one to pay attention to. They will get Terry McLaurin back, I believe, and I think they're going to get Deebo Samuel back, I believe. So that Commanders team, even though it hasn't been that good this year, I think the Commanders with Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels are a very different team than one without either one of them. So I'm curious to see how that starts looking tomorrow night. All right, everybody, that will do it for today's episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. Hope you enjoyed it. Always appreciate you tuning in. Give us a like, subscribe, give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. I will see you tomorrow. Don't know exactly what we're going to be talking about yet. I kind of fly by the seat of my pants. I plan these things the night before. So if that. So we will figure that out. But for now, go Texans and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Take care.